An overview of British literary periods. English literary periods start with the Old English or Anglo-Saxon period, followed by the Middle English, the Renaissance, the Neoclassical, the Romantic, the Victorian, the Edwardian, the Georgian, the Modern, and the last one being the Postmodern. The Old English period. The native Britons, who were under the Romans from 43 AD, were invaded by the Anglo-Saxons in 450 AD, thus beginning an era. The Anglo-Saxons, who came as saviors, ended up colonizing the land. Later, William the Conqueror put an end to the period with the Norman conquest. Though the earlier literature was oral, the later works were mostly legal, medical, religious, and included translations. The works of Beowulf, Cadman, and Canolf are notable during the period. The language of the Anglo-Saxon differs greatly from the present-day language, and the Exeter book is believed to be the only surviving source of the Anglo-Saxon literature. Middle English period. The period which saw drastic changes in culture and lifestyle. This period gave birth to what we call modern English. The period began with the after effects of the Norman conquest and lasted till the advent of printing in Britain. The literature of this period was mostly religious. Only after 1350 did the literature become secular. This period is owed to poets like Chaucer, Thomas Chester, and others. The language underwent changes in its grammar and pronunciation. Its vocabulary got greatly influenced by the French language brought in by the Norman conquest. The Renaissance. This important literary movement lasted for 4 ages, namely the Elizabethan, the Jacobean, the Caroline, and the Commonwealth. The Elizabethan Age. This age is known for the revival of learning, which is Renaissance. Its ideas were carried from Italy to England. William Shakespeare, the greatest contributor to the literature of this period, had a variety of contents that included histories, tragedies, comedies, and tragic comedies. The Jacobean Age. The distinction between the Elizabethan and the Jacobean are subtle, with the latter being rich. The tragedies of William Shakespeare, acid satire of Ben Jonson, varied comedies of Beaumont and John Fletcher, and the prose literature of Francis Bacon and Robert Burton remain as worthy Jacobean literature. The Caroline Age. This age was dominated by the clash between the Royalists and the Parliamentarians, one being for and the other against King Charles. Though the art of drama slipped, the Cavalier and metaphysical poets flourished, along with the movements by John Donne, Robert Herrick, and John Milton. The Commonwealth period. The period in which the public theatres were closed by a Puritan, Oliver Cromwell, who led the nation then. While drama suffered, political and prose writings were welcomed. The Neoclassical period. The period which holds 3 great ages in it, namely the Restoration, the Augustan, and the Age of Sensibility. The Restoration. This period restored the public theatres, which paved way for Restoration comedies of manner and satires. The Augustan Age. This age gave rise to neoclassicists, among whom Alexander Pope is considered to be the best. The literature of this age represents the lack of passion and urban life in the form of being didactic and satirical, with the use of closed heroic couplet. The Age of Sensibility, or the Age of Johnson, is known for the predominance of logic and reason. Dr. Johnson's A Dictionary of the English Language is an important contribution, published in 1755. The Romantic period, the beginning of which is often debated to 1785 after the Age of Sensibility, 1789 with the start of French Revolution, and 1798 with the publication of lyrical ballads. The age produced nature poets along with female poets. The age came to an end with the coronation of Queen Victoria. The Victorian period, the period in which novels became the leading literary genre, saw Charles Dickens and Thomas Hardy as important novelists. Robert and Elizabeth Browning, Matthew Arnold, Alfred Lord Tennyson, and G.M. Hopkins were some of the notable literary people who presented virtue, struggle, discovery, strength, and other human values in their literature. The Edwardian period, which is named after Edward VII, has seen classic novelists and notable poets. The literature mostly covered topics related to class differences, social injustice, and distrust of authority, religion, and art. The Georgian period. It is the period greatly known for the publication of Georgian poetry by Edward Marsh, which was rural in nature and traditional in style. The Modern period. This period paved way for a bold experimentation with the subject matter and style of literary works. This age saw the birth of distinguished novelists and poets who were deliberate and subjective to truth. Emphasis was laid on individualism and alienation. This age is considered to be an age of isms. The Postmodern period. Both modern and postmodern literature explore subjectivism in character development. While a modernist sees subjectivity as a problem that must be solved, a postmodernist believes that this chaos can only be played within it. With this, we come to the end of the English literary period. Thank you.